I was 49 kilos. I didn't eat. I'd taken every drug known to man without even worrying about it. And I was running on I don't even know what.
From Mamma Mia, I'm Mia Friedman, and you're listening to No Filter, a podcast all about candid conversations that count. Roxy Jacenko doesn't like being the centre of attention. I know. Try telling this to her 230,000 Instagram followers, or anyone who's bought one of her 5 books, or the thousands of women who've attended her sellout live events where she gives hopeful young PRs advice about cracking into the industry. They also might find it hard to believe that Roxy Jacenko likes her privacy. But she does. Roxy has a really big life and a really big business, and it all revolves around her. She is a businesswoman. She's a lady startup, in fact, and she's self-made, she's self-funded, and she's self-promoting. But here's something that might surprise you, something you may not know. Roxy insists that her businesses and her social media and her selfies and her TV appearances and even her books, they're not about seeking fame or attention. They're about seeking money. I've known Roxy for many years, and I've watched her dramas over the past few of them with interest, sure, but also concern. 18 months ago, however, Roxy came into the studio here at Mamma Mia and we recorded our first episode of No Filter together. And my opinion of her after that conversation really changed fundamentally. And according to all the feedback we were inundated with after that interview was released, a lot of yours did too if you listened to the interview. At the time, Roxy's husband, Oliver Curtis, was in jail still. He was there for insider trading, and she'd been diagnosed with breast cancer. She was a single mother, and her 2 little kids thought Daddy was in China, not in prison. Her life was in a really difficult place. And I learnt in the interview you're going to hear today, things got even more complicated and difficult and shitty for Roxy after all of that. She stopped eating. She started taking drugs and partying. She had an affair, and all of it culminated in a nervous breakdown. So, when all of that happens, when things go that far off the rails, how does the ultimate PR spinner spin her own life back onto the tracks? Here's Roxy Jacenko. To prepare for our updated interview today...
By the way, we did very well with our last one.
I listened to the last one, and we did it probably 18 months ago, if not longer.
It was just before Ollie got out of jail. Yes.
So I thought, where to start?
Yeah.
I want to start at the end, which is Penelope's Playground. You've now written a children's book because, of course, you have.
Yes, why wouldn't I? Please, I've got so many hours in the day left.
It's true. There's nothing that you haven't done. But I noticed on the back, it's about being different and how it's okay to be different, and about a girl who gets bullied at school. You mentioned the part where when Pixie's father went to jail, and I thought, oh, so you must have told the kids that China was not actually a thing, because in our first conversation,
yes,
what you told the kids was Dad's gone to China and
yes,
he's in China for a really, really long time. And then when you went to pick him up on the plane, where did they think they were going?
Still China.
China. So you went to China to pick him up from China.
We went to Cooma to collect him from China, but it was a plane, so how was anyone going to know anything different?
Very believable.
Yeah, totally.
At what point did you decide that they needed to know? More Pixie than Hunter, because Hunter's so little, doesn't matter.
When he came home and there was so much media around it, that's when this bullying in the playground began. I had to tell her then. It was a Saturday morning, and I think Ollie had probably been out of jail for about a week, and Pixie had become the victim of like the year 2 girls, the year 3 girls coming down and saying, oh, your father broke out of jail. He's a bad person. So that's when I had to tell her. And look, I always knew I would have to tell her. I'd get to a point where I had to tell her. But you know what? I'm glad I did what I did, because I got to tell her and he got to explain it to her in person. You know, if I had have told her and he didn't have that face-to-face time with her to nurture her through what was quite shocking for her to understand, I think it would have been a lot harder.
What words did you use?
I do not remember intricacies of things. It's like my mechanism for getting through something is to forget the finer details, and it's just the broad. I just remember she was in her room. It was a Saturday, and I said to her, because she'd complained that the kids had said, oh, your dad broke out of jail, he's a bad person. And I said to her then, you know, this is what actually happened. And I didn't tell you because I didn't want to upset you, and I also didn't think you were old enough to understand.
Did you say it in terms of Dad did a bad thing and he went to jail and that was his punishment and now he's out?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I didn't give her the intricacies of it.
She doesn't need to
obviously.
know about insider trading.
And I don't really understand it either. So I didn't give her the intricacies, but then what I did was I remember sending a text message to Ollie saying, I just told Pixie, and he was quite angry because he was like, you can't do that if I'm not there. I said, but she put me in a position and I felt like I was under duress. I know she's like 7 years old, but it was that time I had to tell her. And then he came home and he spoke with her and I wasn't in the room. I wanted to leave them to discuss it together. And even now, I mean, we did the Today Show the other day and we were talking quite openly about it for Penelope's Playground, and Richard and David Campbell said something about jail, and Pixie kicked me under the table like, Mum, why are they talking about it again? You know, we've discussed it and they shouldn't be discussing it anymore. So, look, you know, it was one of those things. It came a time and I had to tell her. But that's why we did the book, because so many people had an issue with the fact that she was different. Her circumstances were different.
What words did you give her when people questioned her about it or said things to her about her dad being in jail?
I said to her that she needs to stand up for herself, that the solution isn't to run to the teacher, that you have to learn to be confident enough to say, everyone's different. You know, just because that's what happened to my dad, that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. Everyone's circumstances are different. And I also said to her, if we were all the same, the world would be a very boring place. And she rattles it off. And you know what? I don't think anyone knows what the right thing to do in that situation is. But I think the most important thing, and this was a big thing for me, was that, you know, a lot of this stems from the parents. You know, the parents were obviously talking about it amongst themselves, you know, eating dinner and watching the news, and it'd come on the news. So there'd be banter between themselves. What I think a lot of parents forget is that the children are like sponges and they listen to everything that you say, and then they take away from it bits and pieces, and it gets regurgitated. And regurgitated in a way that they don't realise how mean they're actually being, you know, because you're too young to realise.
And also it's pretty interesting. Like, it's like a storybook. Like, your dad went to jail.
The baddies go to jail in the cartoons.
Yeah.
That's fact.
Yeah, but to know someone who knows someone who's been to jail, that's pretty exciting for a little kid, just in that it's so different.
It's not the norm. That's exactly right. It's not the norm. But I think she's not the first and she's not the last kid. I mean, when I was at school, there were plenty of parents who ended up in jail.
Yeah.
But I think there's a big education piece that needs to be had amongst parents, you know, like the whole school. I was cross-eyed. Oh, my God, I was chastised my whole life from the age of 3 until 13 when I had corrective surgery.
Oh, you were actually cross-eyed?
Yes. Heaven forbid I thought
you meant like a euphemism. Like.
No, I was literally cross-eyed. So heaven forbid I'd take my glasses off for swimming. What I'd do is I'd take my glasses off quickly, shove my goggles on and walk from the change room to the pool with my goggles on my eyes, because I wouldn't want people to chastise me over the fact that I was slightly different to them. Now I've had everything fixed. Fake boobs, new teeth.
How are your lips going?
I had them pumped up
They
a bit.
go up and down. How often do you get them done? I only ask because you're very open about
you know
it.
what?
And I know you've got nothing to hide.
No, I did it again about 2 weeks ago. And I said to the guy, put a bit more. Come on, I want my money's worth. He's like, Roxy, enough.
Is it hard to talk sometimes? Because sometimes I see you and I think you've just had them done. And it's like...
No, it's my teeth, I think. Because
really?
Yeah, I was a bit drunk and disorderly and slipped over and broke my 2 front teeth on the bath. So I had to get new ones.
When was that?
Oh, when Ollie first came home, I enjoyed a few too many vinos and ran to the bathroom to vomit, but missed the bathroom completely and fell over.
Oh, love.
Yeah, life is one big drama.
When you went to pick him up, what was that like? That day?
Weird. You know, my circumstances were one. And look, I've been very open now about it. I didn't know whether my marriage would last or it wouldn't last. You know, our marriage for 7 years prior to him going to jail was very touch and go.
Why?
I didn't know where my life was going to go. You know,
is that because of the court case over your head, or just because of life got in the way?
No, court case over our head. You know, he was a person who wasn't his normal self. What I met and dated became a very different person when that subpoena was served. So for 7 years, you know, he lived a life where he didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow. And you can imagine for anyone that is a very uncomfortable circumstance to be in, especially when you've got 2 young children. So when we picked him up, to be honest, I just sat on the plane and sort of was like, wow, what's going to happen here? Am I going to lodge those divorce papers or am I going to carry on? And, you know, I think I had a very good go of testing life as a single person.
When he was in jail?
Yeah, I gave it a good whack.
Was that with permission? or an understanding between you?
No, look, I think the reality is he knew all was not topsy-turvy, but we weren't, the conversation was not, oh, well, this is what I'm going to go and do. I also had a duty to protect him as much as I can. He was in an environment that was not one that was a happy environment, so I didn't want to cause him any more grief. But we fixed it.
Did word get back to him?
Yeah, of course. Unfortunately, he gets
it was
every
all over
newspaper.
the press.
Yeah. Roxy stood by a window. Silly.
But you knew you were being followed.
Yeah, but you forget about that. I think I've delved, and I said this when I did Sunday Night with Mel Doyle, I delved in things that were so unhealthy, which were not smart. I took drugs. I drank myself into a stupor. That was my way of coping with my circumstance. And my circumstances, look, to a lot of people, they weren't that bad, but for me, they were very different to what I knew how to cope with, and that was I had cancer. I had 2 children on my own. I have, I've now got 5 businesses. At the time, I had 4 businesses to run and I had 30 staff. And to be honest with you, I didn't know how to cope. So what I would do is I'd go out.
Did you say I didn't know how to cope?
I know.
That was, I think they call that a Freudian slip.
Yeah, I think that I just was going to try and skate over that. But
yeah,
of
no,
course,
sorry.
Miss Mia Friedman was going to pick up on that. So I did everything. If it was offered to me, I did it. It was like I was reliving this 18-year-old life with cancer. I mean, who does that? But you can see I was in a very strange mental state. I mean, it led to a nervous breakdown. So I didn't really know what would happen. But you know what? He walked into our home. He was a different person. It was the weirdest thing for me. He was, he's going to hate me saying this. Let's just hope he doesn't tune in. He was a brat. He was educated at a private school. He should want for nothing.
Do you mean before prison?
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
He was entitled?
He was entitled. And he walked out of prison and he had, all of a sudden, a whole new outlook on life, new values, an understanding of the importance of, I guess in a sense, earning it for yourself. So it was a different person. And now he works with me. I can't shake the bloke.
I was thinking as you were talking that I shouldn't have said you were being followed. What were you thinking? Because that makes it sound like in some way it was your fault. And I think that the conspiracy theorists who say you set that up and knew you were being photographed and stood next to a window.
Do people say that?
Yeah, but people also said you pretended you had breast cancer.
Oh yeah, that was one of my favourite yet.
There are people on the internet who aren't very nice and who don't give anyone the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So I think that it was clear from a distance that things were pretty out of control. And I mean, I guess there's no blueprint for what was happening to you.
Out of control is an understatement. I mean, anyone who looks at my Instagram from 2 years ago and sees a 49-kilo human, it's not normal. I didn't eat. I was taking drugs. I was drinking myself into a stupor and I was going out. I don't know what. It was not normal.
What changed? What snapped you out of it?
I think when you get to a point where I literally did not eat, and I used to brag about it. 6 cooked tuna mini rolls a day, and I look back now and I'm embarrassed. I thought it was like an achievement. It wasn't an achievement. It was sick in the head.
Yeah, you and I talked about going out to dinner after
I would never have gone out for dinner.
You said
because I wouldn't eat.
You said that. You said I won't eat, but I'll have 3 or 4 or 5 Caprioscas.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, that's weird. And
it was weird.
I'm going to eat, so maybe we shouldn't go out to dinner.
Hello. Now I'll come and eat and I'll have the whole hulla, thanks. It was a person who was on their way to a mental breakdown, and I had one. And to this day I still take the medicine to try and take myself down a notch.
I take medicine too.
What the tipping point was for me was I was driving home along New South Head Road. It was a Saturday and I remember ringing my mother and she was in...
Home from where?
The office, and the children were at home with a babysitter, and I passed by the Rose Bay Marina and I remember ringing my mum, and she was in Israel, and I said to her, I'm having a nervous breakdown. It was a feeling like I've never experienced in my life. I was 49 kilos. I didn't eat. I'd taken every drug known to man without even worrying about it. And I was running on I don't even know what. And then I had a breakdown. And I remember calling the rabbi, who's the doctor. Well, he was a rabbi, now he's a doctor. And I said to him, you need to come. I don't know what to do. You have to admit me to some sort of a clinic. And he said to me, I don't want to admit you to a clinic because he said you won't come out. And so he put me on all sorts of different things. And one thing led to another. But that was what snapped me out of it.
Did you have therapy as well?
I did, but every time I walked out of it, I felt like it was stuff I knew and I didn't need someone to tell me what I needed to do. I just needed to do it. And that's what I did. because I have that kind of personality.
What'd you need to do? Eat something?
I needed to eat. I needed to clean up my lifestyle. I needed to put a focus back onto what was important, and that was not going out and that was not being 49 kilos with a six-pack and standing on the side and making sure that it was visible in my Instagram post to get free activewear because I could buy it. It was weird. But, it was applauded. And that's what
I watched that from the outside and it made me very upset for you.
It was applauded, and that was like this. It gave me a kick, so I kept going and
it's
going.
It's so thirsty,
and going.
isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that was my tipping point. You have a nervous breakdown, you forget where you've left the kids, and then bang, guess what? You go fix your life up because I'm very lucky. Very lucky.
So Ollie walked in. Was it a little bit like a first date, like meeting him again?
No, it was so awkward. I was like, you sit over there on the plane. He sat with the children, and you know what? I was happy for him to have that time with the children. And then, you know what? He vented how he felt about what I'd done. And don't worry, I gave it straight back because the reason I did what I did was because of the position I was put in. And you know what? We haven't really looked back from there. We really haven't.
Was it awkward the first time you had sex again?
Do you know I don't even fucking remember? Excuse my language. I don't remember. I don't even remember if it was that night. It's so weird the stuff I do and don't remember. And I'm a prude. Oh my God, has it come over really hot in here?
Because sometimes, like for men, the way that they reconnect is through sex. But for women, like you need to reconnect before you want to have sex.
I don't think I ever disconnected. I definitely didn't disconnect. I just had anger.
Yeah, well, that's not good for feeling sexy.
No, I was very, very angry. I was angry I'd been put in that situation. I blamed him for getting cancer. I blamed him for the fact that I was in a downward spiral. So there wasn't a need to reconnect. Oh, there was plenty of connection, but it was anger.
So the chemistry wasn't gone.
No, not at all.
You just had to clear everything away.
Correct. And we have, and it didn't take long. When your life goes so backward, it's very easy to get it, when he walked back and I could see this life that was a very privileged life of, someone who has my back, who doesn't want to control me, who looks after the children and doesn't say, well, you know what, that's your job, you cook the dinner and you be home at this time. You really appreciate it. I did it on my own for a year. And I mean, to the women who do it for longer than that, they deserve an absolute medal because it was the hardest year of my life. Single parenting is very difficult and I don't think people realise.
People think your life looks easy from the outside.
Oh, I portray a certain look, don't I?
Why do you though?
I think I am honest. Like for instance, if you remember when I did my nose and I had that shocking blood infection, I still post it even though I look like I was a walking dead person. I'm honest in terms of, but I mean, you don't really say, I'm not one to put on my Instagram, I had a nervous breakdown and this is, like my life story. I actually don't like that. When I see on Instagram these people with these long rants, I'm like, you know what? That is not the forum for it. I look on Instagram.
Well, it might be the forum for them, but it's not your brand. It's not what you do.
It's not even a brand thing. It's just not me. I am not the person to put all of that on Instagram. I use Instagram.
But you put it in other places.
As only if I'm asked. I don't volunteer it. You see, I'm telling you this because you're asking me, but you didn't know before because you didn't ask. So I wouldn't overtly put it out there for the sake of it. But if you ask me, I've got this inability to just say nothing. I just have to say if you ask me, I'll tell you. But I'd never use Instagram for that. I use Instagram almost in a sense when I view Instagram and people's pictures as a release, light and fuzzy. I don't ever follow pages that are deep and meaningful or the quotes. And I don't want it for that. I want pretty pictures. I want flowers. I want fancy dishes dished up at a cake restaurant. I look at it for that. And that's what my page, I want it to be. Nice things.
How did you reconnect with Ollie?
I don't even know if I
well, you said it was awkward when he came back and you were angry and you had to get through a whole lot of stuff.
It's a long time ago now.
How long's it been? A year?
2 years.
2 years since he's been out of prison.
What year are we in now?
We're in 2019.
When was he released? In 2017. Was it 2017? Oh, fuck.
I don't know. He's not my husband.
Yeah, shit. I don't remember. It was ages ago.
And it seemed for a little while to me like you were maybe just going to stay there because you could appreciate what he was in your life, but your heart wasn't in it. But it was like, yeah, this is good for the kids. They haven't had a dad for a while. I haven't had a co-parent for a while. I'm just going to sit this out for a bit. Is that how it was? And then it became love again?
I think that there was never no love. I think there was a lot of resentment, but I won't lie and say that, oh, look, I didn't in the beginning think I have a duty as the mother of these children to do the right thing by my children and forego my happiness initially. That's what you do. I think that's what you do as a parent. Yeah, of course those thoughts went through my mind. But I think I also had a very good experience of what life could be without Ollie and without his support and without the kindness that he brings. So anything that was detrimental, that goes in my pocket and I don't even care, because let me tell you, I tasted what life could be like with somebody else and it was not as rosy as, everyone always thinks the grass is greener. Well, let me tell you, it's not.
How did you trust each other again?
Look, you know what? It's funny because when Ollie met me, he was obviously otherwise occupied with somebody else.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we do now. So does everyone else. You know what? We really don't talk about it. He knows what I did, and obviously he doesn't condone it. I'm embarrassed by it, but my circumstances were what they were. We don't go over and over and over it. We just don't. It is what it is.
So
and that chapter's closed.
Redeveloped.
Yeah. There was never a point where I was not trustworthy with him before. And as I've said to him, I could never be the girl who did that and then went to sleep in the bed with him. It's just not me. It's too hard to live a double life.
He was in prison, so.
He was in prison. It was much easier.
And then
it wasn't like he could just walk through the door.
There's a certain dignity in that. What about the whole reproposing, all of that?
Yes.
How much
and I've got no rings on today.
How much of that was for show and how much of that was for the resetting within your marriage?
That was his resetting. That was for him what he felt he needed to do. And to be honest with you, I mean, that I do remember because I was going to, there's a bar in the city in Australia Square there, and I was going with a couple of girlfriends, literally as I am today, in my gym clothes, because I like to work in gym clothes. I can work faster. If I'm comfortable, I can work faster. So it was a Friday night. I was in my gym clothes and like, oh, let's go for a drink to this Australia Square bar. I was like, okay. And the next thing you know, we stop outside the Four Seasons in this maxi taxi and they're like, can you get out now? I was like, but it's all the way down there. Why am I getting out here? They're like, just get out. And one handed me this envelope and I opened the envelope and inside the envelope it says, come to room whatever it was. You can imagine how I nearly died. Like, it's lucky I have a full face of Kim Kardashian natural makeup on at all times with my gym clothes. Because I walk into this room and it says, will you marry me again? And there's Ollie with this ring that's like 6.5 carats. I nearly died. I was like, that was very early on. And that was for him what he felt he needed to do because he felt that the first 7 years of our marriage were not a proper marriage. Yeah, we were married, but we weren't. We were like just good friends. So he did it again. And look, the ring was double the size, so I was good with it.
Did you get married again? I can't remember.
No. He was like, I want to get married again. I want to do it properly. And I was like, no, we've got to buy a house. Forget it. The money can be well spent on a house rather than another. I just don't like all of that shit. Like
Don't live for it.
No, it's my idea of hell. It's like when it's your birthday and someone wants to sing you happy birthday. Please, God, just go away. I'm happy to eat the cake. Just put it down. Let's cut it. There's no need for song and dance. No, I don't want to get married again.
So it's like you don't like being the centre of attention, which a lot of people would find very surprising to hear about you.
I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. And it's funny because my seminar's coming up and it's the thing that I most hate about what I do.
Really?
The thought of doing that gives me... I've broken the bar on the back of my teeth because I grind my teeth so badly in the lead up to it. I hate it.
You don't like being the centre of attention?
I hate it. I find it very uncomfortable. I fell into what I do. I fell into it. And, it was almost made into this big thing that she wants to be the centre of attention on Celebrity Apprentice. That's where it began. So, no, I don't enjoy it, but you do it because I have bills to pay.
The decision for you and Ollie to work together, how did that come about?
I had said to him when he first got out of prison, I knew how hard it would be for him to get a job. How could he? He can't trade. He can't be in a managing director role. He can't. Well, what's he going to do? And he went to work for his dad for a company called Enome, which is like medical data on your phones and whatever. I'm not very tech savvy. And anyone knows how hard it is to work with family. And he was miserable. And I know he had issues with other people that were in the group, you know, thinking that because he's been to jail, that means that he's not the right fit for the business. And he was depressed about it. And I felt like this is that person who I was married to for 7 years. You know, he's done his time. Let the guy move on. You know, keep in mind he's young. He's only 33. I like them young.
Are you 40 yet?
F*** off. No.
There's nothing wrong with being 40. Your 40s are amazing.
I've had all this stuff in my face and I don't look like I'm 21.
Well, I couldn't tell what age you are because you've had so much stuff in your face. You could be anywhere from 23 to
70.
55.
No, I'm 38.
You're 38 and he's 33.
33.
So, yeah, he's young.
He's
still
young.
got a lot of chapters.
You know,
of his
like this is
career.
when he's got a lot of chapters. So I said to him, come and work with me. And he's like, no. And I kept pushing because you know what? I could see he was miserable. And finally he said yes. And it's been the most amazing thing because it's allowed me to be a lot more hands-on in terms of the creative elements of the business. Before I was so stuck in back of house, which is also a very vital part of a business. You know, you need to know what your debtors list looks like. You need to know whether you're making money, whether you're not. But I don't enjoy that and it's not my strength. So now he is at the back end of the business managing policies and procedures and all of that kind of stuff. And then I have the ability to come up with the idea of, you know, handing out grapes down on Bondi Beach for the nippers because it's, you know, back to school time. I can be creative and I can do what I like doing. It's also meant that we can open more divisions of the business. You know, now we've obviously got a content creation agency, Social Union, and we've got an agency called 18 Communications, which is an agency which focuses on Chinese nationals and communicating with them on WeChat, Weibo and Redbook, which is unique. So it's good. I don't see him. I reckon I see him less now than I did when he didn't work for me.
Who's the boss?
Me. I am. And you know what? He has got no problem with that, which is also nice. You know, there's not many men who would be happy for me to openly say, I'm in charge. Well, I am in charge. But that's fine. You know, like he's amazing with the children. He has qualities that I don't have. I am very short fused. I would never be a good stay-at-home mum at all. He's unbelievable. I couldn't do what I'm doing if he wasn't there at all. I'd probably still be on MDMA.
The people...
and maybe 38 kilos.
That's a drug, apparently.
Apparently.
The people who see you on Instagram might have you confused with an influencer. What do you do every day? Like, what's your working day like that people don't see, that doesn't go on Instagram?
Well, I worked all day yesterday, and that was Sunday.
What'd you do?
Oh, I had to clear my emails. I've got 5 inboxes. And, you know, like you go out of the office for an hour, for instance, to sit here, and I know that I've got 3 hours more of work to do come 6 o'clock because you can't catch up. You know, my life is busy. So, I mean, I'm not going to purport that I take the kids to school. I do sometimes. I don't all the time because I need to be at my office at 7:30 in the morning. But I'm at my desk every morning, 7:30, and I won't leave until 10 to 6, and then I work again when I get home from my laptop. I don't know anything different to that. It's how I was brought up. It's what my parents did. We were raised by nannies. That said, any free time, you don't see me out with friends. You'll notice one thing on my Instagram. I don't keep many friends. I've got a friendship group of like 5 girls, and that's all I've got because I can't be responsible to try and keep everyone happy and be able to be available and commit to, you know, going out. I can't because any spare time for me is with my children. That's my friendship group.
What's the last few years taught you about marriage?
That it's fucking hard. It is hard, you know. It's interesting. I had dinner with my mother and father-in-law, Nick and Angela, on Friday night, and they've been married for like 40 years. And I said to Ollie, my God, like it's an achievement. And it's so unusual now. You know, how many people, even in my age group, that have already been divorced? I've got 2 friends at the moment going through a divorce. My mum and dad are divorced. You know, my dad was divorced before I even met my mum from someone else. It's hard. You know, I don't think that there is any right way of doing it. I think you have to be very understanding and, you know, you have to work at it. I don't think that, you know, oh, well, the person did the wrong thing. See you later. That's how I am. I'm a very transactionary person, but I don't think that works in a relationship, and I've had to sort of change my ways. Because it's very easy for me to have gone like that to Ollie. See you. Bye.
Start again.
Yeah.
Start again.
And I could have. Start again. And that's what I do. I can start businesses every other day. I can get another boyfriend. But that's not a happy life. It's really not. I tried it. Trust me. I gave it a good whack. So no. But it's hard. Very hard.
Are you still in contact with your ex?
No.
He was your ex twice over now, right?
Yes. No. You know, I've closed that chapter. It needed to be closed. It was obviously not closed the first time around. And let me tell you, it's definitely closed the second time around. You realise how good you've got it when you've got someone who's got your back and cares about every single bit of you, not just the fanfare.
The impression that you also get from looking at your Instagram is that money's no object for you. And then I was reading something.
The tile thing.
Yeah, it's something you were quoted about, some pool tiles.
That was so taken out of context.
You said, no, it's too expensive. Are you saying you could have afforded it?
No. Okay, I was asked a question on Today Extra and we were on a panel and there was a study that came out of the UK where they said the study has reported that if you have endless amounts of money, you have more anxiety. And my response to that when Richard Wilkins asked me, well, what do you think, Roxy? And Dave Campbell says, oh, well, you drove a Bentley or a Range Rover here, so what do you think? And I said, I don't agree. And the reason I mentioned the pool tiles is, of course, I've got money. I've got 5 businesses. I've worked since I was 14. I've worked hard and I've done well. But, of course, I don't have endless amounts. If I did, I'd be on a jet or wouldn't be sitting in downtown Paddington on a Sunday afternoon. So when I answered the question, I said, I don't think having more money gives you anxiety. I think when you can't afford something, you have more anxiety. And why I reference the pool tiles is because first world problems, Ollie decided to rip out every pool tile because he didn't like the colour. And then I got the bill for the new pool tiles and I'm like, I really don't want to spend money on this. It wasn't that I couldn't. Of course, if I had endless amounts of money, I wouldn't have even thought twice. But it gives you anxiety when it's not an endless supply. If I had an endless supply, let me tell you, I'd have no anxiety.
What I thought was interesting about that anecdote, the way I read it and the way you've just retold it, is that you talk about first person, you talk about I can't afford or I can afford and my money. Is it not our money with you and Ollie?
No, and I've never had a joint bank account. You know, Ollie can have anything that I have, and I've always said that, and he's the same toward me. You know, if I needed money, he would give it to me. But you know something? I think that money can really cause issues. I don't want to be in the position where I buy something and my husband says to me, well, why did you do that? My money is my money and his money is his money. And when we bought a house, obviously he'll contribute. I don't want to be in that position. I really don't. I've watched my parents go through a divorce and fight over everything from fucking cutlery to properties worth, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't want to be in that position. I will have my bank account and you have yours. We don't have a joint.
Did you have a prenup?
No. And you know, that's one thing about me. I am generous. And you know that. I don't want that. If I owe it to you, I will give it to you. So if something goes sideways, you know what? Whatever I have, Ollie has as well. He's the father of the children. I didn't have one because I wouldn't want to do that to someone. I wouldn't want them to think. I just would never. I wouldn't. It doesn't even cross my mind. I'd rather give it to you. You know what I always say? I can make it again. It's true. It's not that important to me that I can't make it again at all.
Do you guys fight?
Not really.
Does he stand up to you?
We don't fight. I'll challenge him. Like, do we really need those pool tiles?
Will he challenge you though?
No. He doesn't. You know what? He knows what he did to me. And because of what he did to me and the situation he put me in, he is very, very, very appreciative. And if we have words, which they only are ever words for a split second, he listens, and even if he doesn't agree, he'll say it, but he'll say it calmly, and then we just move on from it.
I feel like he wants to have more kids. I don't know why.
No, it's funny. He would love to, but I can't. That's why it annoys me. 2 people in 2 weeks have said to me, by the way, I'm fanning myself because that tamoxifen medicine makes me like 3,000 degrees.
Your breast cancer medicine makes you hot.
Oh, hot is understatement.
Does it put you through menopause?
Yeah, that's what I have
Oh,
now.
you're going through menopause. So you're having a hot flush.
I'm sweating.
Because I was thinking it's not that hot in here.
It's very hot for me.
Yeah, right.
I'm like 20 degrees hotter than everybody else.
Because
anyone
you're
who
going
listens
through
who's on
menopause.
tamoxifen will tell you it's like the worst drug you can ever take.
What are the other symptoms?
Weight as well. Like, it's really interesting. I'm very careful with what I eat. I eat chicken, fish. I eat a good breakfast, a good lunch, but I don't lose any weight at all. Now, if anyone else was eating what I was eating, they would be able to keep to a certain...
Do you still work out like a crazy person like you did
anymore.
for a while?
No, I do this thing called Psychology Club, which is around the corner here. It's cycling, which I do on a Saturday and Sunday now, because it's the only days I can actually have that 45 minutes and not be on my phone going, oh, my God, I'm not at my office. So I only do Saturdays and Sundays now. So, yes, Ollie, the word I think I should use is good person.
Jewish people would say he's a mensch.
Yes, that's exactly right.
He's a mensch, which is a Yiddish word for like a good guy, just a good person.
He's a good person.
Just a good person with a good heart and good values.
Yes, a very good person. How he's been brought up, I mean...
How does he reconcile, or you reconcile that with the fact that he's been convicted of a crime and gone to jail?
We don't even think about it. You know, I think that the most important thing is...
He made a mistake.
To move on from anything, you close a chapter. And that was one of the main reasons, other than the donation to the National Breast Cancer Foundation, that I did Sunday Night with Mel Doyle, because we needed to close the chapter. And here we are talking about it again. But we did. He needed to close it. How many times he was asked, will you do this? He needed to close it. He needed to say, you know what? I made a mistake. I've hurt so many people, et cetera, and close the chapter. We don't talk about it. If we do, it's as a joke. Like, he'll eat tuna and rice for lunch every single day, and he's now relegated to the park bench outside the office because the smell is so hideous. I'm like, I cannot deal with this smell. You're not in jail anymore. Will you stop with the microwave rice and tin tuna? He's like, but Roxy, it was on special. Like, this is a guy who's worrying about specials. He used to send like diamond rings in a courier just on a Tuesday. Now he's worrying about the 12 packets of tuna on special at IGA. We don't talk about it. It's done. It's, you know, it's like I lived it for 9 years now. It's so boring. There's so much more exciting stuff to talk about.
Well, I'm excited
like
for the next 7 years. Oh, TV show. What TV show?
No, I'm joking.
Maybe. What have you got up your sleeveless sleeve?
Maybe one day. No.
What do you want to do?
No, there was talks of a reality show.
There's been talks about that for a long time. Wasn't a pilot filmed at one stage?
That was like in 2000.
Roxy's Girls or something. Did I make that up?
Roxy, what was it called? No, we've been doing
and they
some
followed
stuff
you
with
around.
Whipper from Nova 969 has a production company. So maybe that'll happen. We'll see.
And why would you want that?
It's an interesting one. Actually, I had a conversation with Ollie about it, and I suppose one thing I learned from Celebrity Apprentice was that exposure on Celebrity Apprentice, whilst it wasn't that advantageous for me, what it brought me for my clients was all of a sudden this girl who could get you national TV instantaneously for 8 episodes. So Victoria Coffee at the time, which I've spilt in my crutch today before I came here.
You so did that as product placement. You just went, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to spill my client's coffee on my lap so I can talk about it.
I don't work for them anymore. But it's quite funny. They were one of the sponsors when I did Celebrity Apprentice, and instantaneously, you know, they had major coverage on Channel 9. So what it did for me as a business, and it's the same with my books, not Penelope's Playground, obviously it's a very different kind of book, but the other 5 books is it gives them this outlet. What other PR girl can give them that? No one. They just can't. So I look at it from more of a commercial perspective.
So it's tactical.
Yeah.
And strategic.
It's never been a fame thing. It's been a how do I get rich thing.
That's what motivates you. It's money, not fame.
Correct. I always say I'd rather be rich than famous. But I know in this country what I need to do to get to that.
It's the fame is a means to the rich end. Mm-hmm. Why do you want to be rich? Why is it so important to you?
It's not important. It allows opportunity. For instance, why have I got 5 companies now? Because I've had the money to be able to go out and start them on my own and not have to get in investors and ask someone else to help me do it. That's why, because of the opportunity. Also, you know what I want to give my children, what my parents gave me, and that was the opportunity to travel, and have. For instance, Pixie at the moment has additional tutoring for English and maths. I want to be able to give that to her. I want her to be able to do gym. Who knew how expensive school was? When they get these every day, there's something else, even the excursions. So that's why I don't want, and I've told you this before, I want to be able to do whatever I want to do. If I want to get on a plane to go and see, an exhibition somewhere, I want to be able to do it. And I know that if I work hard and come up with ideas that nobody else has come up with, I can do it.
Pixie seems to be doing less work.
Yes, she's not really doing anything now. When she wasn't at school, it was fine. It was fun for her. Now it's not a priority at all. And it's funny, I cop such a lot of criticism about her Instagram and, doing sponsored posts. And you know what? I stopped it when I needed to stop it. She was enjoying it. There's nothing wrong with her taking tickets to go to the Taronga Zoo or, to go and have, a high tea at a Barbie high tea or whatever it may be. But now her priority and her focus has to be at school. Even, for instance, when we did today's show, I had to change the segment. I had to do a pre-record because I said she has to be at school. The focus is making sure that she has ample time for learning, and it's not about her Instagram. If there's something on the weekend, for instance, by all means. But if it's school time, no.
Does she get a choice as to what she does?
Yeah. If she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't do it.
And Hunter?
Hunty's funny. Hunty will, as long as it involves dinosaurs or dogs or safari animals, he's into it. Look, you know what? Hunty's Instagram's just a bit of fun. I don't even really post that much on it anymore. Now, really, the focus is Pixie's bows. I just focus my energy and use that platform of Pixie's Instagram, which is, accrues sort of 100,000 followers for her Instagram, for her bow business, which is going really well. We'll be in all stores Maya shortly. We're in 14 now. We go all stores by April. So it's good. But you see, there was a reason for that Instagram. It began as fun, and then I could see the commercial value, and then she's got to go to school, so then we use that following to promote her bows. So nothing's ever done just for the sake of it.
That's it for No Filter this week. If you want to hear more from Roxy, scroll back through the feed and listen to my first No Filter with her. It's called Roxy Jacenko and the Whole Damn Thing. You can buy Roxy's book, Penelope's Playground, at any good bookstore. It's the perfect gift for the young girl in your life. And of course, you can follow Roxy's adventures on all her socials. Her Instagram game is particularly strong. No Filter is produced by Eliza Ratliff. I'm Mia Friedman, and for more stories like this, I will see you on mamamia.com.au.